The Los Angeles Dodgers have built themselves a Japanese empire, and they might not be done yet. A photograph that surfaced recently has sent shockwaves through the baseball world and ignited a firestorm of speculation that could reshape the National League landscape once again. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the Dodgers' prized pitching ace, was spotted having dinner with none other than Munetaka Murakami, Japan's explosive third baseman and two-time MVP. This wasn't just any casual meal between old teammates. This was a meeting that has executives, agents, and fans buzzing with one electrifying question. Is the next Japanese superstar about to paint Dodger Stadium blue? The Dodgers have already assembled the most formidable collection of Japanese talent in Major League Baseball history. Shohei Ohtani, the generational two-way phenomenon and three-time MVP, anchors their lineup. Yamamoto, fresh off his historic posting from the Yomiuri Giants, gives them one of the most electric arms in baseball. Roki Sasaki, the young flamethrower with a 100-mile-per-hour fastball and devastating splitter, rounds out their Japanese pitching arsenal. But here's the thing that keeps Andrew Friedman and the Dodgers front office up at night. They don't have an everyday Japanese position player who takes the field defensively. They have a designated hitter who pitches. They have dominant pitchers, but they don't have that everyday star from Japan who plays a defensive position and grinds through a 162-game season in the field. Enter Munetaka Murakami, and suddenly everything changes. This 25-year-old left-handed slugger isn't just another prospect hoping to make the transition from Nippon professional baseball to the majors. This is a legitimate superstar. A two-time MVP who has terrorized NPB pitching with a combination of raw power, plate discipline, and clutch performance that has made him one of the most feared hitters in Japanese baseball history. Standing 6 feet 2 inches and weighing 215 pounds, Murakami possesses the kind of physical tools that translate across any league, any level, any baseball diamond on the planet. Let's talk about the elephant in the room first, because this is what makes Murakami such a tantalizing prospect for any team willing to roll the dice on a massive international investment. The man has 80-grade power. In scouting terminology, that's the absolute pinnacle, the top of the scale, the kind of raw pop that evaluators dream about when they close their eyes at night. On the traditional 20 to 80 scouting scale that baseball has used for generations, 80 represents elite generational ability in a specific tool. Murakami's power from the left side of the plate sits at that rarefied level, putting him in a category with the most prolific home run threats in the game today. To put that in perspective, left-handed power hitters of Murakami's caliber don't grow on trees. Finding a legitimate middle-of-the-order bat who hits from the left side with legitimate 40 home run potential is like finding a unicorn riding a skateboard through Times Square. It just doesn't happen every day. The Dodgers know this. Every team in baseball knows this. Left-handed power is a premium commodity, and Murakami has it in abundance. We're talking about Kyle Schwarber territory if everything clicks. We're talking about a bat that could slot into the heart of any lineup in baseball and immediately make that offense more dangerous, more explosive, more terrifying for opposing pitchers trying to navigate through the meat of the order. Murakami's track record in NPB speaks for itself with the kind of volume and consistency that demands attention from major league decision-makers. Over 5 of his 7 full seasons in Japanese professional baseball, he has launched 30 or more home runs, establishing himself as one of the most reliable power threats in the league. He would have easily reached that mark again in 2025, if not for an oblique injury that sidelined him for 2 months during the heart of the season. Oblique injuries are tricky, frustrating ailments that can sap power and make it difficult for hitters to fully rotate through their swing. Many players struggle when they return from oblique issues, tentative about re-injury, and unable to generate their typical bat speed and torque. Not Murakami. When he returned to the Yakult Swallows lineup after recovering from that oblique strain, he absolutely erupted. The man was cooking with gas, raking at a level that reminded everyone why he's a 2-time MVP. He slashed .273, .379, .663 in his return, numbers that would make any hitter in any league jealous. That 379 on-base percentage shows remarkable plate discipline and the ability to work counts, draw walks, and force pitchers to come into the zone. That 663 slugging percentage is video game territory, the kind of number that indicates a hitter who is doing serious damage every time he makes contact. When you combine those numbers, you get an OPS over 1,040, which is basically Aaron Judge doing Aaron Judge things. The walk rate tells you even more about Murakami's approach and baseball IQ. A 14% walk rate indicates a hitter who understands the strike zone, who doesn't chase garbage out of the zone, who makes pitchers work and forces them to throw strikes if they want to get him out. For a power hitter, that patience is gold. It means he's not just up there hacking, trying to hit everything 450 feet. He's picking his pitch, waiting for something he can drive, and when he gets it, he's making pitchers pay. That discipline combined with his raw power creates a dangerous combination that keeps pitchers up at night scheming about how to attack him. Then there's the isolated power number, and this is where things get really fun for anyone who loves watching baseballs fly over outfield fences. Murakami posted a 390 isolated power in 2025, and for those who don't live and breathe advanced metrics, isolated power is calculated by subtracting batting average from slugging percentage. It's a pure measurement of extra base hitability, showing you how much damage a hitter does when he makes contact. A 390 ISO is absolutely elite, the kind of number that puts you in the top echelon of power hitters across any professional league. It means that when Murakami connects, he's not just getting singles. He's moving runners around the bases. He's changing the complexion of innings. He's putting crooked numbers on the scoreboard. The raw bat speed and exit velocity back up all those numbers with hard data that scouts and analytics departments drool over. Murakami has been clocked with exit velocities topping 107 miles per hour on laser shots to right field, the kind of opposite field power that indicates a hitter who can cover the entire plate and do damage to pitches on the outer half. That's not pull-side power, where a guy is cheating on fastballs and trying to yank everything foul pole to foul pole. This is legitimate all-fields power from a left-handed hitter who can turn on inside heat and also drive outside breaking balls the other way with authority. That versatility makes him nearly impossible to pitch to when he's locked in. His MVP credentials aren't flukes or products of hot months in favorable conditions. Murakami won NPB MVP awards in both 2022 and 2023, dominating Japanese baseball in back-to-back seasons and establishing himself as the face of his franchise. In 2022, he hit 56 home runs, a staggering total that showcased his ability to produce power in massive volume over a full season. That 56 home run campaign was historic in Japanese baseball, putting him in elite company and announcing to the world that this wasn't a one-year wonder or a player who caught lightning in a bottle. This was a legitimate superstar who had arrived and was here to stay. What makes his consistency even more impressive is that he's been well above average essentially his entire professional career, even dating back to his teenage years when he first broke into NPB. His worst season in Nippon professional baseball came in 2019, his rookie campaign when he was just 19 years old. Even in that worst season, he was still 14% better than league average, according to weighted runs created plus, an advanced offensive metric that adjusts for league and ballpark factors. Think about that for a second. His worst year, as a teenager in his first taste of professional baseball, he was still above average. That's the kind of baseline production that indicates special talent. Every other season since that rookie campaign, Murakami has been at least 53% better than league average, and in most years, he's been significantly better than that. This past season, he posted a 210 weighted runs created plus, meaning he was 110% better than the average NPB hitter. To put that in Major League Baseball terms, that's Aaron Judge territory. That's the kind of offensive dominance that wins MVP awards and makes you the most feared hitter in your league. Now, would that production translate directly to Major League Baseball? That's the million-dollar question, or rather the $180 million question that some team is going to have to answer. The case for Murakami coming to the Dodgers goes beyond just his individual talent and fits into the larger organizational philosophy that Andrew Friedman and the front office have been building for years. The Dodgers want to own the Japanese market. They want Japan to bleed Dodger blue. They want every elite player coming out of NPB to see Los Angeles as the destination, the place where Japanese stars come to win championships and cement their legacies on the biggest stage. Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Sasaki give them pitching and designated hitting, but they're still missing that everyday position player who takes the field, plays defense, and grinds through the daily grind of a marathon season. Murakami would give them that missing piece, completing the puzzle and creating a Japanese core that would be absolutely unprecedented in Major League Baseball history. Imagine the marketing potential, the cultural impact, the television ratings in Japan when the Dodgers take the field with 4 elite Japanese players in their core. Baseball is religion in Japan, and the Dodgers would become Japan's team, drawing fans from across the Pacific and creating a global brand unlike anything baseball has seen since the days of Ichiro in Seattle and Hideki Matsui with the Yankees. The financial implications alone could justify a massive investment in Murakami, even before you factor in what he might do on the field. That dinner between Yamamoto and Murakami wasn't just two friends catching up over sushi. Yamamoto is 1 year into his Dodgers tenure, and he knows better than almost anyone what it takes to make the transition from NPB to MLB, what the adjustment period looks like, what the challenges are, and what the rewards can be when you succeed at the highest level. If Yamamoto is recruiting Murakami, telling him about the Dodgers organization, about the resources they provide, about the winning culture and the way they develop players and maximize talent, that's a powerful pitch that no other team can match. Ohtani can make the same pitch. The Dodgers can offer Murakami something no other organization can: a built-in support system of Japanese stars who have been through the transition and can help smooth the path. But let's pump the brakes for a second and talk about the very real concerns that would give any front office pause before committing 9 figures to Munetaka Murakami. The biggest question mark hanging over this entire scenario is simple: where the hell does he play? The Dodgers have Freddie Freeman entrenched at first base on a long-term contract. They have Shohei Ohtani locked into the designated hitter spot. Max Muncy, despite his advanced age and declining defensive metrics, still provides value and is under contract. So where exactly do you slot Murakami into this roster without creating a logjam that leaves someone unhappy or underutilized? Murakami has spent most of his career playing third base for the Yakult Swallows. But here's the uncomfortable truth that scouts and evaluators will tell you if you push them for honest assessments. His glove doesn't play at an elite level. Most evaluators see him profiling long-term as a first baseman or designated hitter at the major league level, positions where you can hide defensive limitations and let the bat do the talking. Some believe his defensive skills are good enough to survive at third base, at least for a few years, while he's still young and athletic enough to handle the position's demands. But this isn't a gold glove caliber defender we're talking about. This is a bat-first player who happens to stand at the hot corner. The Dodgers have shown they're willing to overlook defensive deficiencies if the bat plays at a high enough level. Teoscar Hernandez was a liability in right field throughout the regular season, making highlight reel blunders and costing the team runs with his glove. But his bat was so productive, his power so valuable in the middle of the order, that the Dodgers lived with the defensive shortcomings and found ways to minimize the damage. Could they do the same with Murakami at third base? Could they convince themselves that his offensive production would more than offset any runs he might cost them with his glove? One wildcard scenario that might sound crazy, but isn't completely out of the question. The Dodgers could experiment with Murakami in the outfield. He played 1 game in the outfield last season for the Swallows, which is barely a sample size, but it shows he's at least athletic enough that his coaching staff was willing to try him there. The outfield might actually be a better fit for his defensive skill set, giving him more space to work with and relying more on instincts and athleticism than the quick reactions and strong arm required at third base. If the Dodgers decided to get creative, they could play Murakami in left field or right field for a couple of years, then transition him to first base once Freeman's contract expires. Here's another possibility that requires some roster gymnastics but isn't impossible. The Dodgers could trade Max Muncy and hand third base to Murakami from day one. This would be a bold, aggressive move that would signal the organization's belief that Murakami's upside is worth disrupting the current roster construction. Muncy has been a solid contributor for years, but he's on the wrong side of 30. His defense has declined, and his bat, while still productive, isn't what it was during his peak years. If the Dodgers believe Murakami could hit 40 home runs and provide 80-grade power from the left side, might they decide that's a significant enough upgrade to justify moving on from Muncy? It would be rocking the boat, shuffling the deck, creating uncertainty. But the Dodgers have never been afraid to make bold moves when they believe it makes them better. The contact issues are the other major red flag waving frantically in front of anyone considering a massive investment in Murakami. His strikeout rate has climbed in recent seasons, jumping from 21% during his MVP years to over 28% in the last 2 seasons. That's a significant increase, and it indicates a hitter who is having more difficulty making contact with pitches in the strike zone. When you're facing major league pitching with better velocity, sharper breaking balls, and more sophisticated game planning, those contact issues could become even more pronounced. The boom or bust nature of his profile is real. This isn't a 300 hitter who sprays line drives all over the field and puts the ball in play consistently. This is a guy who strikes out at a high rate, who swings and misses, who has holes in his swing that advanced scouting departments can exploit. The question becomes, is the power production significant enough to justify living with a hitter who might bat .230 with a 30% strikeout rate? In today's game, the answer is often yes. Teams have shown they'll tolerate low batting averages and high strikeout rates if a player is hitting 40 home runs and drawing walks. Kyle Schwarber is the perfect comp here. Schwarber has been a valuable player despite consistently batting under .240 because his power and on-base ability make him a productive offensive force. If Murakami becomes a Japanese Kyle Schwarber, that's still a very good player worth paying. Then there's the financial reality that would make this deal one of the more expensive gambles in recent baseball history. Murakami wouldn't come cheap. Given his age, his track record, and the market for power hitters, he's looking at a contract in the neighborhood of 8 years and $180 million, and that might be a conservative estimate. Some projections have him commanding even more, potentially pushing into the $200 million range if multiple teams get into a bidding war. For a player who has never faced major league pitching, who has questions about where he plays defensively, and who has a concerning strikeout rate, that's a massive financial commitment that could hamstring a franchise if it goes wrong. But wait, there's more. The financial commitment doesn't end with the contract Murakami would sign. Because he's coming via the posting system from Nippon Professional Baseball, any team that signs him would also owe a substantial posting fee to the Yakult Swallows. The posting fee structure is tiered, starting at 20% of the first $25 million of the contract, then shifting to 17.5% of the next $25 million, then 15% after that. If Murakami signs a $180 million contract, the posting fee alone would be over $25 million, essentially adding another year's salary to the total cost of acquiring him. So you're not just paying Murakami, you're also cutting a massive check to his Japanese team for the privilege of negotiating with him. When you add it all up, you're looking at well over $200 million in total investment for a player who has never played in the major leagues, who doesn't have a clear defensive position on the current roster, and who comes with legitimate questions about whether his game will translate. That's not a project. That's not a low-risk, high-reward gamble. That's a franchise-altering commitment that you have to get right, because if Murakami doesn't work out, if he can't handle major league breaking balls, if he strikes out 40% of the time and can't catch up to elite velocity, you've just hamstrung your payroll for nearly a decade with a player who can't contribute at a level commensurate with his contract. The hit rate on Japanese position players transitioning to Major League Baseball is also worth considering, because while everyone remembers the successes like Ichiro, Hideki Matsui, and Shohei Ohtani, the list of players who struggled to make the adjustment is much longer. For every Ichiro who came over and immediately dominated, there are multiple players who showed promise in NPB but couldn't translate that production against superior competition, better scouting, and the daily grind of a 162-game season. The pitching in Major League Baseball is better, the scouting reports are more detailed, and the adjustments pitchers make after seeing a hitter once or twice through the lineup are more sophisticated. Would Murakami be able to make the necessary adjustments when pitchers start attacking his weaknesses? That's the gamble. Yet despite all those concerns, despite all the question marks and red flags, you absolutely cannot dismiss the possibility that the Dodgers might convince themselves this is worth the risk. Why? Because the Dodgers understand something fundamental about modern baseball that some organizations still haven't fully embraced. If you want to win championships, you have to slug. You have to score runs. You have to have multiple bats in your lineup that scare the living hell out of opposing pitchers and force them to make mistakes. The Dodgers won the World Series last season despite having a below-average offense that averaged fewer than 4 runs per game throughout the postseason. Their pitching staff carried them through October, and while that strategy worked once, it's not a sustainable formula for building a dynasty. The front office knows they need more thump in the lineup, more protection around Ohtani, more bats that can change a game with one swing. Murakami would give them exactly that, even if his defense is shaky, even if he strikes out a ton, even if there's a learning curve as he adjusts to Major League Baseball. The ceiling is so tantalizing that it might be worth the risk. 80-grade power from the left side doesn't come around often. When it does, you at least have to ask yourself the question, what if this works? What if Murakami becomes a perennial all-star, a middle-of-the-order force who hits 40 home runs a year and provides lineup protection that makes everyone around him better? The recruiting angle can't be overlooked either. If Yamamoto, Ohtani, and potentially even Sasaki are actively recruiting Murakami, telling him that Los Angeles is the place to be, that the Dodgers organization will take care of him and set him up for success, that carries enormous weight. Players talk to each other. They trust the experiences of teammates and friends who have been through the transition. If Yamamoto sits down with Murakami over that dinner and says, "Come to LA, the organization is first class, the coaching staff is excellent, you'll love playing here, and will help you adjust to everything," that pitch is worth more than anything a GM can say in a negotiation. Player-to-player recruiting is real, and the Dodgers have the infrastructure of Japanese stars to make it incredibly effective.